This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast for Wednesday, August the 30th today. Tomorrow's Throwback Thursday. We've got like end of summer songs.
Yep.
Boys of Summer from Don Henley for me, but you've got Endless Summer Nights from the great Richard Marx.
Yes.
You've interviewed Richard Marx.
I have.
What a brush with greatness.
Years and years. When I stopped and thought about it, it's like, it was a long time ago. It was nearly 20 years ago.
20 years ago, sure.
God, I'm so old.
No, they're not that old.
So old, Mark.
So the Endless Summer Nights, I was looking at the video and I was getting the clip ready. Oh my gosh, half of his height is his hair.
Well, and he didn't have that hair when I met him, so he was literally like eye to eye.
Oh.
He's people had said how short he was.
Yeah.
He's short.
Yeah.
He's not a tall man.
But he's a man of great stature in the recording industry.
And I will say probably one of, if not the best interview I've had. He was just very generous and very nice and friendly and he one of those ones, and you can relate to, who would just go.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a lot of, and this sounds bad, not a lot of effort on my part needed.
Well, yeah, but that's
he
the
would
great
just
interview.
talk. And it was interesting what he would talk about.
Yeah.
And I remember him talking about Randy Jackson and American Idol, because at the time American Idol had just come out. Tell you how long ago it was.
Wow.
It had just started. And so I asked him about that and how this would affect music and how his thoughts were about now we find people competing on shows who will be the next big thing kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And he got talking about Randy Jackson, good friend of his, and it was just interesting. It was an interesting conversation. And of course we talked about Right Here Waiting and the massive success of that and the story behind it. It was a nice talk.
But like Barry Gibb, for example, Richard Marx is equally known in the industry for his songwriting.
Exactly, yes.
We tend to think only of his hits, but if you could peel back enough of the layers, if you know enough about music, he wrote To Where You Are for Josh Groban.
Yes.
That is a spectacular. That's the saddest song I know. If we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about sad songs, I think next week or something.
Sad songs that make you happy. Does it make you happy, this song?
I love the song.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I need to hear
Where
it.
You Are.
And it's all about, a breath away. It's all about somebody who died. It's a funeral song. And I know you're always here and angels breathe and all that stuff, but it's like, who sat down and figured that out in 4.5 minutes? Richard Marx did. Great songwriter. Phenomenal.
And then, of course, he was married to Penny from Dirty Dancing. Let's not forget that.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that. And then he sang backup for Bette Midler forever.
Did he? Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he's written jingles. The guy's
an incredibly talented person.
We really want to hear Endless Summer Nights tomorrow.
You know what? I kind of want to, but it's against Don Henley. And it's Don Henley.
I'm not going to advocate voter fraud.
I know. You actually went on and said,
don't vote for Don Henley.
I know.
Love you, Don. Like, I know you're listening to the podcast. Love you. You don't need the money.
But we don't need to play you.
I'll play it later on in the day. Like, you'll still get the spin, as we say in radio.
Yeah, you'll still get the credit. We'll still give that to you.
We'll play it. We just really want to get into Richard Marx. That's what we'll do.
You know what? You can never have enough Richard Marx,
That's what I'm thinking. Coming up. Because you know what? On Friday, it's the first day of September, and you know what's coming.
September.
Here it comes. So get your votes in for Throwback Thursday tomorrow. Today on the show, we had lots of stuff, including the moon, which was about 8 feet off the ground.
Holy cow. It was amazing this morning. That's why they call it a super moon.
Yeah. Get out there and enjoy that tonight. We'll talk more about that coming tomorrow. But today was the Marist College Mindset List for class of 2023.
What is the Marist Mindset List?
The Marist College Mindset List was created, I don't even know when, long time ago. I don't know when the first one was. But somebody there figured out, in order for the professors to be able to relate and teach the incoming freshmen that year, they need to have an understanding of what their life was like. So if you were to say, oh, you just sound like a broken record, a student would look at you and go, what's a broken record?
A what?
Yeah, like the cliches. I have no idea what you're talking about. So somebody put a list together, and it became famous because it got released. It was like, oh my gosh, that's remarkable.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Stop and think about it for a moment.
And what a fabulous thing to think about. is the professors want to be able to relate to the students. So every year they put together 60 of them, and I don't know who compiles it on their behalf, but it got released. So this is, and as you pointed out, they would have been born in what year, roughly? For 2023 to go to University College?
2005?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
4, 5?
Right, they're 18, 19
Yeah.
years old, so that's great. So here's the mindset list of 60 things. We highlighted 15 of them.
Okay.
So for the incoming freshmen this year, like Pearl Harbor for their grandparents, the Kennedy assassination for their parents, and 9/11 has been an historical event.
See, and that's the one that always gets me.
Yeah.
To think that there are people now on this earth who weren't here
Yeah.
when 9/11 happened. My kids included, because we've started to have some they've clued into it, and with the anniversary now coming up, it's top of mind, and we've talked about it. It just blows me away.
But these kids, their grandparents weren't even born until after Pearl Harbor. Their grandparents are baby boomers.
Yes.
So that's, the primary use of a phone has always been to take pictures.
And I find that funny too.
Yeah. That's remarkable. And I know when cell phones came out and people talked about the cameras, I went, who would use their phone to take a picture? I'm so old.
And phones with cords.
Yeah.
I remember pulling the phone around the corner from the hallway to the outside of my door and then sliding it somehow through, like under my door, to have privacy, because everything was connected.
Because of the fact that somebody tried to smuggle a bomb onto their shoes, onto a plane, and of course it didn't work at all, they have always had to take their shoes off before getting on an airplane. To them, that's not an invasion. That's just something they've always done. Remarkable. They have outlived iTunes.
That's just funny.
They've outlived iTunes.
Yes, they have.
They never had iTunes accounts.
It's created and gone.
Snapchat has become their social media app of choice, so they don't have to whether or not friend mom when they're gone. Yeah. They may not have a younger sibling.
This one was interesting to me.
Right. So what they said is the incoming classes, so you think about this for Loyalist or Queens, and certainly this other university that they set up the mindset for, there has been a declining birth rate. So as a result, we may see a higher level of only children or youngest children. And that really affects their mindset.
Will that decrease now, class sizes, in future?
Boy, you may.
Because if you're not I get people are still going to have children, but not as many. So that's very interesting. Only children or the youngest child.
Or the
in
youngest
family.
child may be the demographic
This
in
year.
a larger amount. Not over half, but more than before.
Wow.
PayPal has always been an online option for purchasers. PayPal, having a PayPal account. YouTube has become the video version of Wikipedia. When you need something to learn or you want instant information, they go to YouTube. They YouTube it.
YouTube tutorials.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Face recognition technology has always been used at public events.
I didn't know it had been around that long.
Always been used. They understand that.
I thought that was still fairly new.
Yeah.
But no, I guess 18, 19 years we've been using it. Okay.
So here's a few of them, for example, that we didn't talk about. They have always been concerned about catching the West Nile virus.
They've always been concerned.
Always. It's always been around their whole life.
Wow.
You think back to SARS, right? Which was what, 2002?
Yeah, about that.
West Nile
earlier
has been
than 2004.
Around. Yeah. West Nile has always been around.
Wow.
They have always grown up with big data and algorithms that know what they want before they do.
So there it is. So when something pops up on our phones, our devices, and freaks us out, like, oh my God, who's listening? It's completely normal for them.
No.
They know exactly what I like and what I'm looking for, and boom, there it is.
There have always been smartwatches.
Wow.
Yeah, they never had a time where it's like, that's
my
weird.
Old, like watch. That's all it does is tell time.
Hey, look at this.
My watch.
It takes my blood pressure. It knows my current temperature and how many steps I walked. Yeah.
It does have a calendar. Like I do know the day of the week.
The day flips over.
But wow.
Unless you wind it wrong and midnight becomes noon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then I'm totally thrown off.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What day is it?
Defibrillators have always been so simple to use that they can be installed at home. We see them.
Who has one at home?
Yeah. I mean, we see them in the arenas, of course.
And they
Got
aren't
one
hard
at
to
church.
use.
They got to be.
Yeah, doing
in
the
public places.
They're public places.
Right, yeah.
But to have one in your home now?
Yeah, they say no.
And they
so
are pretty easy to use. But that's because I've been CPR trained and first aid trained.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like, you're the one that's here to save my life, and I am gravely concerned.
So rest assured, I know how to use them. But to think of them as so easy to use to have in your home now.
Yeah.
That boggles my mind a little bit.
Blackboards have never been dumb.
Have never been dumb. They've always been smart.
Smart boards. I've never had just a chalkboard.
Yep.
Monica and Chandler have always been married on
I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently
the earlier
always
episodes,
been married. Yeah, where they're not.
They finally got married. This is the year that they were born. So Monica and Chandler's kids could be going to university.
Yes.
Think about that.
Wow. Thanks, Mark.
Teams have always been engaged in an amazing race around the world. That's how long that show's been there.
That's my favorite.
Never known a time when it wasn't there. And then I saw this one and went, no, I think this is 1,000 years old, but it had Coke and Pepsi have always been competing in the sports hydration science marketplace. So
they always have, haven't they?
They always have, but not just the pops, but in the sports hydration, getting involved in.
Oh.
Yeah, but, as a brand name, not as big. Other things like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pirates have never played at Three River Stadium. I knew that forever. That was always where they were, but they've been out of that stadium so long, nobody knows what Three River Stadium is in Pittsburgh anymore.
I don't. But that's because I'm not a football fan.
Right, exactly.
So I'm
looking at all these things going, oh my gosh, that's absolutely
Anything
nuts.
else on there that's kind of...
Oklahoma City has always been a national memorial because of the bombing in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Things like that.
That was the 90s, though.
Yeah, exactly. So
for them, it's always
memorial.
okay.
Yeah. Nearly half of their generation is people of color.
Wow.
Going to universities. Yep.
Okay, how sad is that? That has to be on that list now.
Yeah. Yep.
It's impressive, but at the same time, it's kind of like, whoa.
And again, and this is what I hear in the United States, and I see it on Twitter all the time. That's why I think politicians had better be careful the way they talk to this generation, because the things they vote on, they don't like to be told what to vote. This is the most important issue of the election. No, I'll decide what it is. And if they decide it's global warming, you can't change their mind. Because listen to this one. They are as non-judgmental about sexual orientation as their parents were about smoking pot.
Yep.
Their parents are like, decriminalize it. It's not a big deal. Children feel the same way about sexual orientation.
Of course they do.
Yeah. And so, you can't convince them otherwise.
Yeah. Honestly, we could go down a totally different path here. But good. I'm glad to hear that. That makes me feel happy.
Heinous sexually based offenses have always been investigated by the SVU on the show Law and Order. Always. I've always grown up with that.
Oh, I love that show.
The Mars Odyssey has always been looking for water their whole life.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been on Mars as long as they've been alive.
Oh my gosh.
They've never known that it wasn't there.
Okay.
And the North American mantra has always been, if you see something, say something. Their whole life.
Honestly, myself, I even feel that when was it not? When did people not speak up? Because to me, I think that's ridiculous if they didn't. But the line,
if you see something, say something. That's the life of incoming Loyalist College University students for 2023.
How does that make you feel?
I'm old,
But other than that, does it make you feel encouragement? Does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel... It does make you feel old. It makes me feel old.
No, I'll tell you. But it's funny you say that. Okay. What it does is it tells me it's important to not disregard pop culture. Because when you begin to say, I don't care about that, or that's not important to me, or that's dumb, that's when you become old. when you
now I'm thinking
look
back
at
to any of
that-
those things if they made me react that way.
No, but it's like, no. Like, that's when people say to me, and I get my back up at parties or when I meet people when they say, you don't really like all the songs on your station. Like, you don't like new songs because I'm 60. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, you don't really like, of course I do. I like lots of old songs, and I like not to. But
I think to be fair, yes.
This whole idea is, oh well, I turned 50, so now I can't like
automatically
new things.
Don't.
And not only do I not like new things, I hate them, and everything before was better. That mindset makes me frigging crazy.
Well, I didn't
hate
mean
it.
to poke the bear.
No, but so when I see that, it's like, pay attention to that because that's who they are. And the joke is one day they're going to pick my old age home, right? But I mean, this is the way their life was. You need to acknowledge that. We're not judging it. Acknowledge that that is the life they've had and that to relate to them, to teach them, to...
That's what it is. That's what this list is about.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, when did it first come out?
I don't know when the first one was.
Because it'd be interesting to go back and look. Because as you said, to recognize what they've been through, how their life has been, to kind of look back and then move forward to see how things are shifting,
right?
Almost and changing. Because as you said, to look at it and be like, well, that's dumb. I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to close myself off and just hang on to the past. Well, no, to look forward and to move forward, it's interesting to see how that's happened. Like when you think about what's happened in their lives, what they will now continue to do, how things are now going to move forward. Like in 5 years, look at where they're going to be when they graduate. What are they going to go on to do? And then look at the students coming in. And it's all, what's the word? Circular. It all comes together moving forward. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm being...
Yep.
If I'm using the right words.
I remember things that were on past lists, and maybe they were on the list 20 years ago. That so, for example, incoming freshmen have never written a check. And I remember...
But now you can take pictures.
Yeah, but I remember like in 1998, maybe that was on. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Have always had a debit card. Like I remember when that was, my gosh.
Smartwatch. I still don't have a smartwatch.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to me, the technology. What's going to be next? Like what will be next as they move forward, I guess.
I remember another one that said incoming freshmen have never mailed a letter. This was probably 10 or 12 years ago. They never would have mailed a letter.
And
Why
that
would
kind
they?
of makes me a little sad. Postage is ridiculous, so I don't blame them for not.
$1.20 for a stamp.
Mailing a letter.
$1.20.
But at the same time, I do feel a little sad because that's a lost art.
Yeah.
And it is sentimental to me because my grandmother and I used to write letters to each other because when I moved around, it was that connection to home. And I cherish those letters now. So, yeah, as they move forward, what maybe are they missing out on even? It's not a matter of, well, we can't move forward, this is stupid. It's kind of like, it's too bad they're not going to have that.
Print emails from grandma. Keep them.
You can still stay connected, but it's the handwritten.
No, I know.
It's having that connection with people.
Yeah. So that's neat.
It is interesting. And 9/11 is always a big one, too. When I hear that one, that's the one that stands out for me the most. Because like JFK and like Pearl Harbor, those moments in history where everyone, it's one of those moments where you ask yourself, what were you doing?
Yep.
You look back and you can remember clearly what you were doing. And we've had that conversation.
Challenger exploded. Yep. I remember where I was when I found out. Yeah.
And you mentioned SARS again. Again, I remember when I wasn't there, but I remember watching it.
Yeah.
And the same with, well, it wasn't mentioned in this one, but the big concert, Woodstock, when they did Woodstock again.
Yep. Live Aid, I remember all that stuff.
Exactly. Those moments in history where you were a part of almost because you remember those things. So when 9/11 comes around, I would say it's almost the most recent, perhaps.
Yep.
The big event. And to know that there are people now in this world who weren't here. It just
large number, and so to try and teach them that's history. That's not pop culture to them.
They won't.
That's history.
Feel it. Yeah, they don't feel it like we do. And you're right. It's history now for them.
So if you are dropping them off this weekend, if you're taking them out of the Quinte region off to their adventures of post-secondary education,
so exciting.
That's who they are, and may they stay in touch and have a wonderful second education out in the big world. And if you're coming to Loyalist College, Charity and I will wake them up, even on days after the pub.
Try to, anyway.
We'll do our best. Join us tomorrow once again for a Throwback Thursday. David Foote of the Belleville Senators is also going to be on the show because single tickets are going to be available for the first half of the season on their brand new website. We're going to have them for that. And, of course, be listening for Taylor Swift. Only a few days remain when you hear our ticket wicket opens up on our website.
That's your cue to get in to win one of 4 pairs of tickets we're going to give away on Tuesday. Very, very exciting. The ticket of the summer, if not for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she won't be here until November of 2024. So it's a hot item ticket. We're so excited to have them for you. So keep listening for Taylor for your chance to get in and win.
Good luck. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. It's the Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast with 95.5 Hits FM.